What has been done to just allow this movement to cleaner air vehicles, to just facilitate the movement in the allowance of time for it to happen? There are other states that have followed along with California's movement towards zero emission, and others, Oregon specifically, has postponed and made exception to their rules to allow for time for technology to catch up. California has, at least to my knowledge so far, is holding fast on their agenda. And if you're asked, my pitch is a little more time is required in order for that transition to happen. And specifically for our sector, we need that exclusion to make sure that these essential services don't slow down.
Did they tell you, is there a timeline now that they're going to get back to you, or there's no timeline yet?
I'm not aware of one at this point. In coming to the meeting today, I've asked what has been done because there's been conversation regarding amendments. These amendments to the CARB regulations, they can get very complex very fast. It speaks to how many electrics or how many new compliant vehicles have to come to the market in order for the legacy engines that we now use. But for the number of electrics that are getting built, it's still
very small, right?
It constricts.
How many electrics are there?
I can't be specific as to how many are getting
small,
built.
Right?
It's allowing for 20%, to pick a number, less, or call it 80% less diesels to come into the state because there isn't enough electric to offset it to satisfy the ratios that are now in place. So my understanding where the amendments are concerned is that there's going to be some movement somewhere.
But it's not going to be enough to cover this 80% loss.
We haven't seen any positive movement yet. So for all the discussion, we just haven't, we've got no notice that from the manufacturers, and we represent all of the large brands, Peterbilt, Kenworth, Freightliner, International, Dodge, Ford, Chevrolet. The numbers of those trucks that are coming into the state, we're not aware of those numbers going up. Now CARB, the board, has taken the position, and I only point out what their position has been, is that there are carve-outs in the regulations that allow for truck manufacturers through credits and other passageways, that there are ways for the manufacturers to get the supply of necessary trucks into the state for our industry and others. But the CARB groups are pointing out that the manufacturers may be part of the problem, that they're not supplying trucks for other reasons, like they might be too costly. There may be other reasons, ones that I can't speak to, not aware of. CARB has a feeling as to why some of these trucks aren't coming in, and it's not all directed at, they're defending that it's not all what they have.
It's not their regulations.
It's not their regulations that are all
and you guys are in the middle of all of it.
We're in the middle of it. And as I point out, many facets to it, and hard to put your finger on just exactly what's happening, what's preventing the movement of trucks. But one thing's for sure, less of them are coming in because of these ratios that are now in place.
Now, Mark, are you worried because you have 3 months of supply left?
Absolutely. The problem is right in front of us. And what do we do in the event that we can't get them? You can only weather so much time with no activity in your business. And ours is a very active place. Trucks coming and going all the time. Without being able to build new ones, without having the chassis we need to move them forward, starts with us. You'll see that the people that supply these services are going to start to starve for new equipment to keep their fleets current. And then the people on the street are going to feel it in how that they're served. In response to accidents and trucks that are available for police activity, you name it, those services are going to hurt not too far down the line.
And this regulations doesn't apply to government trucks?
Specifically, there's a carve-out and exemption for government vehicles, government-owned vehicles. And my only speculation on that is when these rules were designed, I think the designers assumed that most of these essential vehicles were being operated by government entities as opposed to private services that serve government. And that's where I see the failing. So an exemption or an exclusion for these essential vehicles, tow trucks, is the fast answer to include us with the government exemption that's already in place.
Have you talked to any of your representatives? Because this is a big issue, that your whole industry is impacted by this.
Sure. You're asking for, have I spoken to my local representation?
Yes.
Yes. My local assembly person, Blanca Rubio, has visited us and taken a keen interest in our issue. So I'm very appreciative to Blanca, and as I said earlier, that's why I voted for her again. She has certainly brought our issue forward. We were a little late getting to when our issue could be heard, and we expect that it will be heard again towards I believe it's early in the year when these issues are open for discussion again.
How long do you think you will last after your inventory is gone?
If we don't have trucks to build, our purpose is essentially finished. That is our business. We are a dealership of sorts, only when we think dealership, we think car dealership. We sell an essential truck, but like a car dealership, it's new trucks, it's used trucks, it's parts service, it's warranty. And our business specifically, because we're very active in the community as well. And we work so closely with roadside assistance, with the towers themselves, and the safety in that industry. So we have a cause that's a lot more, not to make too much of it. Of course, we're a business for profit, but there's a community aspect to our business that's very real. When we can't build new trucks and can't sell them, which is our primary purpose and our primary revenue driver, we don't have more than 90 days before it'll be, depending on how deep your pockets are, you can stay there as long as you wish to. But when the writing's on the wall and you don't have trucks to build, I would say a prudent businessman would stop quickly to avoid further losses.